Welcome back to my channel where we bring you the scariest true horror stories from around the world. Before we begin, I would like to say thank you so much for the support that you've given us. You guys are literally the reason why we're still here making videos. So with that out of the way, let's get into it. I heard my own voice begging for help. I was in a relationship that was very toxic, but at the time I was very young and did not know any better. When I was 18 years old, I had a boyfriend who physically abused me, controlled me, gaslit me, and did things to destroy my self-esteem. Looking back, I can safely say he was extremely possessive and jealous. If I wanted to go anywhere, he had to be there too. Even if I went to the bathroom, he'd come with me sometimes. Sometimes just to watch me, or sometimes even worse. It's horrible now that I think about it. But even with all this, I loved him, and I truly believed that he loved me too. One day while I was with him, I heard my own voice begging for help, but I didn't think anything of it. I figured it must have been some distant TV show or something. That was until 3 years later when a similar incident occurred. Again, I was going about my daily life, when I clearly heard my own voice asking for assistance. At the time, I was in my early 20s, and I lived by myself. I didn't hear anyone else in my apartment. And once again, I thought nothing of it because how could I have been hearing my own voice? Then one night, however, I heard my voice screaming for help, but no one came to my aid. After that, I started having the same dream over and over. My dream, I would be hanging from a tree, and then someone would appear and cut me down. The next day after dreaming that, for like the 5th or 6th time, I went to my therapist and told her everything. She helped me realize that I had actually experienced dissociative amnesia due to the abuse I suffered from my ex. That explained the missing pieces of my past. He made me take birth control pills so I couldn't get pregnant, but I never got them. I also couldn't remember much of what happened during the relationship at all. I only knew I wasn't happy. But before that day in therapy, I still had no idea why I kept hearing my own voice. My therapist suggested that maybe I was subconsciously trying to tell myself to get help. I thought that was an interesting theory, but I was still confused about the dreams. She recommended I try hypnotherapy to explore those memories further. I did, and that's when I found out the truth. In the session, I regressed further than I ever had before. I saw my parents' faces, and I heard them calling my name. Then I started seeing disturbing images of myself being assaulted. There were blurry figures in the room, but I couldn't make out their faces. As I progressed deeper and deeper, I started hearing my own voice. This is when I learned the whole truth. The person abusing me in those flashbacks was none other than my ex. And I also realized that I had tried to end my life several times while I was dating him. I don't remember any of that, but I guess deep down inside I knew I needed help. However, I couldn't get that help because of the trauma and the dissociation. I blocked it all out. I guess I just thought if no one knew about the abuse, it wasn't happening, but that wasn't true. After that fateful therapy session, I started hearing my voice less and less frequently. I believe that was because I finally allowed myself to confront those repressed memories. Those voices were me trying to help myself. Hearing my own voice in that way was really terrifying, but it was also the best thing that could have happened to me. It forced me to finally get the help I desperately needed. I am in a great place in my life. I have a loving partner who treats me well and makes me laugh. I also have a wonderful group of friends who lift me up every day. I know I will always struggle with anxiety, but that's okay, because I have people in my life who help me through it. I am doing much better now, but I will never forget those dark times. And now neither will you. Moving on, we have another story about hearing your own voice, my husband's voice. This happened recently. I was sitting in bed scrolling through my phone. It was late at night, and my husband was already asleep. Suddenly, I heard my name being called in a very distressed tone. I looked around the bedroom and woke my husband up to ask him if he called me. He said no and asked me if I had woken up. I said no as well. We both shrugged it off and went back to sleep. About 30 minutes later, I was awoken again by someone calling my name in that same tone. My husband and I sat up in bed and listened. We didn't hear anything. We waited a few minutes, but we still didn't hear anything. So we went back to bed. For the 3rd time, my name was called in a distressed tone. This time, the voice sounded closer. I quickly sat up in bed and noticed the baby monitor by our bed flashing. The screen was blank and there was no sound coming through it. I called out to my son, but he didn't respond. My husband and I got up and started looking for him. As I walked into the nursery, I saw that the blanket on his crib was bunched up, kind of like a figure was laying underneath it. Although there was no one in the crib, I still felt uneasy. Grabbed the blanket and threw it on the floor. It was then that I realized my son wasn't anywhere in the room. I immediately panicked and started to scream for him. My husband called 911 as I ran out of the house to look for him. It was strange because my neighborhood is very quiet and the front door was locked. I looked everywhere but couldn't find him. Then I checked the security cameras on our house. The footage showed that our son had wandered out the front door by himself. I have no idea how he managed to do that because the door is very heavy and it doesn't open unless you push on the handle. I know how long he'd been gone for, because I did uncheck the cameras right away. But it didn't matter because it didn't take long for us to find him. He was only in the backyard playing by himself. My husband and I were beyond relieved. To this day, I still don't know how he got out the door. It was a big problem and we had to put a lock on it, but it's still scary to think about. I am glad I ignored that voice because if I hadn't, who knows what could have happened to my son. I want to hear from you. Which story was scarier? Also, which one did you think was fake until the very end? And lastly, if you could switch places with anyone in these stories, whose life would you want to live? Let me know in the comments below. And with that said, I'll see you next time.